this is Donald Jenkins, your Master Purpose Development Coach, and welcome to my Achievers Success Lab. I'm excited that you decided to take some time out of your busy schedule to get some very important insight that I guarantee is going to speak to your appetite for purpose. Now, if you hadn't had an opportunity to read the blog, I want to encourage you to go to www.newbreedachievers.com. Make sure that you read the blog. Now, let's get into the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is simple. We need to address a major problem that we're having with personal development. And that problem is that we just cannot focus on helping individuals climb the ladder of success without helping them to become more purposeful in their climb to the top. We can no longer look for human solutions when it comes to the lack of insight regarding the safeguards against our appetite for power, because that's the problem that people are having on this ladder, their climb to success, is that they have to contend with the appetite for power. Therefore, we need an action plan, and that action plan is revealed when we find how to feed our appetite for purpose so that we can temper our appetite for power. Now, where do we find this action plan? I know there's a lot of solutions in the world, so where do we go as speakers and coaches and those who desire to empower people? Where do we find this action plan? And I'm going to tell you, it's found in the most unlikely place for many people to look, especially in the personal development space, and it's found in our invitation to sit at the throne of a king. You saw it in the blog, but now it's going to come to full fruition as we begin to talk about it. Hebrews 4:16 declares this: "Come boldly to the throne of grace to obtain mercy and find grace to help in a time of need." That's the action plan. I know it's the most unlikely place, especially for those who are in the success motivation industry. It's unlikely to be able to relate the throne of God when it comes to talking about or having conversations about success. So this is where we find the three most effective self-governing strategies in our quest for success. Remember, that's a major problem, is that individuals, they have this appetite for success, but we always have this issue with this self-governing thing that we deal with in our quest to go up the ladder. So this is where we find those three most effective self-governing strategies that's going to help us in our quest for success. Now, here's how we're going to find it. We got to look beyond the English text, because we can get so much information out of English text. We must look deeper, because we need to find those things that speak directly to our appetite for purpose. Now, here's one thing that we do at the Purpose Development Institute to help facilitate that process. We conduct what we call a source root analysis. And in that source root analysis, it's simply a detailed look at the Hebrew letters to give us more insight that will help us speak directly to our appetite for purpose and to help us create those new patterns of purpose. So what I've done is that I've done that source root analysis for the Hebrew word for throne. And we're going to go to the board here. We're going to see some things, and we're going to give you more insight. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the coolest things that you've ever embarked upon as far as trying to glean insight. So let's go to the board. And as you can see here on the board, the pronunciation for the word throne in Hebrew is pronounced kiseh. It's akin to the English word for kiss. And you know how it is when you kiss your spouse, is where you make a connection. And that's what we need to help individuals with in their quest for success. We need to connect them to a higher purpose. When we anchor them to a higher purpose, then we can guarantee that they will have those safeguards in place that will protect them against the appetite for power. So this is a very powerful place that we must start. We have to come back. That's why this entire blog, this video, it declares that we must sit our behind down and understand how to make this connection. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at each individual letter, because what they do, they are codes of purpose that speak directly to our appetite for purpose, and they give us the strategies. They give us the insight that we need to self-govern ourselves so that we can fulfill those things in our quest for success. Now, here's a very powerful thought. Very powerful thought. Now, in our quest for success, one thing that you must realize is that in the climb up the ladder for success, there are three things that are very important. This is what many people in the world are looking for. Number one, you got to have potential. Number 2, you have to have some support. And number 3, you must have some wisdom, some insight. Now, let me show you how that applies toward this entire concept of sitting at the throne of a king and seeing those self-governing strategies, because these 3 Hebrew letters, they speak directly to what I just said, that is the requirement for us to scale that ladder of success. Because we have to have, the insight. We have to have the potential to achieve more. We have to have the support to know that each rung that we climb up the ladder of success is going to support us. And then we need to have wisdom so that we can become more along the journey. I know that you've heard this before. It's not what you acquire in your journey of success. It's what you become. And that's the wisdom that we need to begin to transfer to people. This is why I said we must help individuals shift their focus. Now, when we go and we look at that Hebrew word for throne, kiseh, we can look at the letter kaf. All right, it means potential. Wow, isn't that amazing? Because that addresses that major need that we have in our climb for success. So the kaf declares this one thing. It declares that God's grace, because the scripture gives us an invitation to come and find God's grace to help us in a time of need. So we surely need this insight in our quest for success. So the letter kaf reveals that grace is an active influence that put us on a pathway to our potential. Isn't that powerful? We need to understand that that's the first strategy that we have, that God has given us, that will help us self-govern ourselves when we're trying to pursue success in our life. Is that strategy reveals that grace has an active side to it. I know you're probably used to experiencing the passive side of God's grace. Well, what is the passive side? The passive side declares that, yes, we all make mistakes, and many times we say it's God's grace that's going to help us recover from those mistakes. Well, guess what? The grace of God was there even before you made the mistake, even before you made the decision. It's an active influence, and I'm telling you, it is time that we begin to experience this active influence. This is not a religious thing. This is a purpose thing. This is something that all of humanity needs. So we need to heed to that first strategy. We need to heed to that thing that God is speaking to humanity, because we're all created, with these particular mechanisms on the inside of us. And God knew we needed that to protect us against the appetite for power, to have those safeguards on the inside of us. So let's go back. Strategy number 1 declares that grace is an active influence that put us on a pathway to our potential in our pursuit of purpose, so that we can pursue the purposes of God. The second letter, guess what it means? The second strategy means support. In other words, the letter Samach is a symbol for divine support. Remember, we have to have support. We need to know that each rung is going to support us. But here's what the letter Samach, this is the strategy that it gives us. The letter Samach declares this, is that grace will empower us to know that God is supporting our purpose. I'm telling you, that is powerful. And in that support, this is what it declares. It allows us to know a very powerful thing in our quest for success. Because when we understand that we have an awareness of purpose, it's a sign that grace is active in our life. I'm telling you, that is something that you can take to the bank, is that your awareness of purpose. And that's a strategy that you need when you're climbing the ladder of success. This is what we need to give people, is that when they're climbing that ladder, they have a greater awareness of God's purpose in their life. And God's purpose is a sign that his grace is active in their quest to be successful in every area of their life. So now let's look at the last letter, because this is very important. Remember, we have those 3 most important things in our climb up the ladder for success. We have potential, we have the support, and then we have wisdom. The letter Aleph is a symbol for wisdom and yoking to a higher purpose. And this is what it declares. It declares that grace empowers us with enough wisdom and intelligence to prevent us from stepping outside of our purpose. That's a self-governing strategy that we need in our society. This is what the personal development industry need. We need these 3 strategies, because these 3 strategies governs the whole industry. And we have to come back to this foundation, sit our behind down to make sure that we're tapping into this level of insight as we help people go out and to achieve the success that God has for them. God bless you. I appreciate your time. This is your Master Purpose Development Coach, Donald Jenkins, and I look forward to giving you more insight to help you in your struggle.